Marty joining us tonight.
Well,
Marty, happy opening night.
let's do it, man. NFL's back. It's like a national holiday here at our house. Although it's two foes playing tonight, it'll just be fun to watch some live hitting football. And excited for week one, excited to play the Giants, excited for the NFL season.
You're a little low on my end, but I did hear most of that. So Marty's excited for week one. He's excited to play the Giants, right?
Yes. Oh, yes.
A little better. If you can get that a tad louder, that would be.
Does that work for you?
A little better. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So, yeah, like on the surface, how are you feeling just overall? I mean, I love the Ryan Kerrigan jersey in the background, by the way. Trying to figure out who the other one is. 39?
That is my youth football jersey. The football up top there was the only touchdown I scored in my career.
Nice.
And this is the Wall of Fame, also including linebacker from Penn State, Paul Posnozgli, and Syracuse basketball legend Carmelo Anthony. So all great athletes in my time growing up, and just loved watching all of them play, especially myself.
Still coming in a tad low, but that's a really nice man cave you got there for sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty sick, if you ask me. Folks, if you're just joining us now, make sure to like and comment on the show. Make sure to share this podcast with a friend or two. It'll definitely be interesting to see what happens this Sunday, and we want to get all your thoughts and questions while Marty is here. I'm going to go a little off script here with the first question. I mean, you're a Penn State fan. Abdul Carter, right? Talk to me about him and what he brings, his physical specimen. I don't know. I'm not a huge social media guy. I'll take it you aren't either, but Abdul Carter's bend is outstanding. Like when this guy is almost on the ground, like he still keeps his legs upright. How does he do that? I know that's a loaded question, but just what do you expect from him in the NFL?
Yeah, does my microphone sound a little better now?
A little better, yep.
Okay, yeah, I apologize about that. So, yeah, Abdul Carter, Penn State, got to watch him there. Super talented guy. He played primarily pass rush, played a little bit of linebacker his first 2 years, moved him there, and just saw great talent there. Micah Parsons comes to mind when you see them wear the number 11, attacking the quarterback. I liked Parsons better coming out of the draft than Abdul Carter, but that doesn't mean that there's a shot at Abdul Carter. That guy can get after the quarterback. Excited to see what he can do. Wish he wasn't in my division and have to see that firsthand, of course. But talent-wise, the guy has every tool that you need, and excited to see him fit in that D-line room for the Giants that is very strong.
Yeah. Let's get to the first question because, it's going to be very interesting to see the battle of the trenches, which you won in both games last season. How did the Commanders build off last year? Do you think it was a slight overachievement despite how impressive things were? Do you think that if maybe you don't get to the same round of the playoffs you did last year, is there a way to still improve and build off that? I know the ultimate goal is Super Bowl, as it should be for every fan and their team, but I just feel like year two, we saw what happened with C.J. Stroud last season. And I don't think that will happen with JD5, but I am concerned with some stuff on Washington, and it's in particular on that offensive line, only because it's shuffled around a lot. And I want to hear what you think. Like, how do they build off that momentum and make sure they don't have a slight step back?
Certainly. Dan Quinn, head coach, has done a great job of implementing this message, which is this. We don't want to repeat what we did last year. We want to build upon it, right? We're one game away from the big show. Was it an overachievement? Yes. Going into the season, we had the second overall pick, rookie quarterback, not a lot of talent, a lot of roster turnover. However, as JD5 continued to progress throughout the year, there were times where I would watch him and I would say, are we going to the Super Bowl ? And there were throws, there were moments where a lot of us have watched Patrick Mahomes in the prime time. Not saying he's Patrick Mahomes, but I'm saying when I saw those flashes, I'm sure the Chiefs fans saw those flashes, and we see that prime time 6-7 times a year. Who's going to beat him? And who's going to stop him when it's 3rd and 7 and you're sitting there as a fan on the couch and you're not sweating? You know he's going to get the first down. So I think it was an overachievement, but for him and what I saw there, the sky's the limit. And as long as we can stay healthy around him and can protect a little bit better than we did last year, I think that same outcome, same trying to produce that same outcome of championship game.
Absolutely. Faded out a little bit there towards the back end of that. But all in all, there is a slight correlation to Patrick Mahomes. I'm not saying he is that, but he's a guy that you could lean on to win you big games. And I think the re-signing of Terry McLaurin, a massive 3-year, $96 million extension. Now, a certain portion of the NFL fan base is critiquing this extension. I don't understand why, because of how important he is to the Commanders' offense. He's been there through the dark years, the lost seasons. Why not maintain that piece of stability who's gone through all that losing now that you are a winning team, Marty? And just the continued development of Jaden Daniels, a veteran receiver like that, a top 15, 20 receiver in the NFL at worst. I think it was a great decision. Like, yeah, you have to feel the defense, but Jaden Daniels is still on his rookie deal, and he's going to be for the next 3 seasons.
Yeah, great signing. Hard to see, but there's Terry McLaurin. Can you hear me?
Apologies, folks. We lost Marty there for a moment. Hopefully we'll get him back in just a second. But Terry McLaurin signing that extension, it's going to be a big move for the Commanders because they need that stability on offense, right? I mean, yes, they brought in Deebo Samuel. I mean, they drafted Luke McCaffrey last season. Zach Ertz as well at tight end is on the older, later stages of his career. They're going to become more of a passing team. And we know that because they dealt Brian Robinson Jr. to the 49ers. They're content with going with guys like their 7th-round rookie, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Austin Eckler. They did that with B-Rob Jr. so they can re-sign a guy like Terry McLaurin so they can field the defense in future seasons and they can extend Jaden Daniels and give him what he wants with the salary cap going up. I think it's going to be awesome for the development of Jaden Daniels. And all in all, we'll definitely see what happens. And Paulson Adebo is going to have his hands full on Sunday, guys. It's going to be definitely very interesting to see what happens with Paulson Adebo guarding Terry McLaurin, Marty. I mean, that matchup is just going to be nuts.
Yeah, sorry about the technical difficulties. Does it sound a little better now?
All good, yep.
Okay, good. Perfect. So just following up on that Terry McLaurin, yeah, great contract signing there. Perfect for Jaden Daniels. The guy can get down the field and can run routes. Love to have him back on the team as my favorite player. It's great to watch him on Sundays.
Yeah, and then talk about the addition of Deebo. How do you expect him to play in this offense? Do you expect it to be similar to what he did with the 49ers? Or do you think it might be a little bit different under Cliff Kingsbury?
I think it might be a touch different. I think we're going to see Deebo do things outside of just running routes. Right now, he's on the depth chart. Number 1 is kick returner. So I think he's going to get all those. We saw in the preseason him take a jet sweep. I think you're going to see that. I think you're going to see him line up traditionally as a running back in the I formation. I think they're going to try to give him touches all around. I think the screen game is going to be big for him. Quick pitches. So similar to 49ers in that standpoint, but I think we're going to see him all over the field in special teams and just ways to get him the ball because he's dynamic if he can do so.
Absolutely. I'm a big Deebo fan. I always have been. And I feel like Washington is headed towards a more pass-first type of offense. The trade away of Brian Robinson Jr., they're really starting to lean on their receivers. What does this mean for guys like Austin Eckler and 7th-round rookie Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt? And can he emerge as the number one running back?
Yeah, Brian Robinson trade at first, reading the headlines, it was a little shocking, but his effectiveness down the season definitely tailed off. And even in the playoffs, we saw him kind of fall out of favor. I didn't think he would get traded based off of where his contract was and only having 1 year left. But the team felt we had cheaper options and younger options. I think a guy who gets overlooked in this offense, in that room specifically, Chris Rodriguez, Kentucky running back, great college career, got into some trouble there, fell in the draft. I think he was the option that they saw internally that said, okay, hey, we can let Brian Robinson go, let him take the bully ball work. We've got Eckler. And yeah, you mentioned Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt. Everyone calls him Bill. You hear him called Bill on the podcast,
Nice.
on the game cast. They call him Bill, and he's super talented. I'm not sure if he'll even dress on Sunday. That's yet to be seen. But I think it's someone that we'll keep in our back pocket. Hopefully down the stretch can turn it into something.
Absolutely. We talked about this earlier. We kind of flirted with the idea of the offensive line, shuffling around. There might be some moving parts. Are you concerned at all with the depth on the right side, given who the Giants present on Sunday? Maybe not like for the whole season, but for this week in week 1?
Yeah. I think that's a good caveat there is overall, no. The guys that we're bringing in off of the quote-unquote bench are guys that started last year for us. So a lot of experience there. Allegretti, Wiley on that right side, helping out. Connerly will be the starter at right tackle. We've got a lot of experience over there. However, yes, for week 1, I would have rather seen a different matchup than who you guys throw out there on 3rd and longs. It's going to be difficult. So that's why from a game planning standpoint, we want to make sure we're ahead of the chains because this week is going to be tough if Jada Daniels has to drop back on third and 7s and longer consistently. It will be challenging on that right side.
Definitely. And, him being sacked 47 times last year against the Giants pass rush that had 45 sacks, tied 8th in the NFL, despite only winning 3 games. It's not common you see a top 10 sack team only win 3 games, but anything's possible with the Giants.
Yeah, fun fact, the Giants fans, I'm sure, were glad to see Daniel Jones walk out of the building, but so were the Commanders, as Daniel Jones won 20% of his career games against the Commanders. The guy was awesome against us. Same on the defensive side on that defensive line. I heard you mention earlier Thibodeau, a little underwhelming performance-wise, but if you look at his numbers against the Commanders, it's daunting. He completely wrecks us and has done that. He has 25, or actually, if you want to be specific, 26% of his career sacks are against us, a fourth of them. And I know we play twice a year against each other, but I specifically remember a Sunday night game, and he had 4 sacks against us and a touchdown. So he's a wrecker against us. So Daniel Jones leaves. Thibodeau fills that role of an underperformer, but absolutely terrorizes the Commanders.
Do you guys play the Colts this year at all? Just out of curiosity?
We do not, but if we did, Daniel Jones would be my fantasy QB1.
Oh, yeah. Daniel Jones balling out against the Commanders is one of the guarantees in life.
Yes.
As bad as he's been, you got to give him that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Ronnie chiming in and saying here, DJ is doing the same old thing with Indy. Yeah, look, I wish him the best. He definitely had good moments. I'm happy he won that starting job. I mean, you're in year 7. You better hope you beat out Anthony Richardson. Honestly, it might be the best thing to happen to Richardson. It's similar to what happened with Bryce Young last year. He sat with Carolina, took some time to develop more under Andy Dalton, and maybe Anthony Richardson could do the same thing behind Daniel Jones. The problem is Andy Dalton was successful in the NFL and in the playoffs a lot throughout the middle part of his career. Daniel Jones was only there once, so there is a difference there. Can keys to beating the Giants in week one, Marty. Obviously, you have the edge at quarterback. You have the edge in most of the position groups. I still think we have the edge in the edge rushing group. That's probably the only thing I would say at this time. But what are you thinking? What does Washington have to do in order to beat the Giants? Because last year, despite the 9-win difference between us, with us only having 3, you guys having 12, the 2 combined games we played each other, Washington only won those by a combined 8 points in those 2 games.
Yep, classic NFC East football. Throw out the records. It's going to be a tough fault game. Keys, stopping the run. I know earlier you said it in your show. We were historically bad at stopping the run for a team that had 12 wins and went to the NFC Championship game. That's definitely something that we have to key on. I'm a big fan of Tyrone Tracy. I know he can put the ball on the ground, but he has talent. Only, I think, a second-year guy at running back coming out of college, has a lot of talent, and looking forward to seeing what he does in the season. That's where we need to step up. And we did sign Javon Kinlaw. He's going to play on the inside. We did sign also Demetric Wise, big defensive end from the Patriots. Sole reason to stop the run. And that's what we are focused on this season doing. I believe if we can do that, we can play a Dan Quinn, Joe Witt style defense, which is we're going to make you drop back. You will get us, but we're looking for turnovers.
Maybe I should have said running back too, because of our combination of Tracy and Cam Scadaboo, who he's healthy. He's ready to go. This guy's a winner. He could play. He's like a bowling ball. You can't bring him down. 0-star recruit. Went to Sacramento State for 3 years. Balled out in the college football playoff last year, as I'm sure you saw, Marty. And, quite frankly, Scadaboo might overtake Tracy by the end of the season. I love Tyrone Tracy, but by mid-season, maybe even sooner, it's going to be a 50-50 timeshare between those 2 guys. So I'm definitely excited for that.
Both young, talented running backs that can definitely exploit a defense that can't stop the run.
Absolutely. I think one key for the Giants that we have to think about is just pressuring Jade Daniels, because we talked about the trenches of Abdul Carter, whether he's up against Tunsil or Wiley, or if they line him up like the way the Giants did Justin Tuck, if they run some NASCAR with all 4 edge rushers in there at the same time, including Chauncey Golston, it could be very interesting to see how Washington counteracts that. And then on the other side of the ball, I mentioned it earlier, getting the ball to Malik Neighbors is critical. And that leads me into my next question. How do you contain Malik Neighbors if you're Marshawn Lattimore and Dan Quinn? How does it get done? Because obviously you're not stopping him. How do you contain him, though?
Just got to jump on his back and hope to take him down before he can even get off the line of scrimmage. Seriously, the guy is a super, super talented wide receiver in this NFL. I think after this season, you could see the conversation with him in the likes of Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Malik Neighbors. He has that type of talent. We're not going to stop him. We saw it week 2. He completely gashed us. The guy is a total stud. The only thing I'll say is that we've got new cornerbacks, Trey Amos, rookie from Ole Miss, Marshawn Lattimore, who didn't get a chance to play him last season, and we also have, who I think is our best defensive back, is Mikey Sandersville. We're going to try to throw a bunch of different bodies at him, but I also know he lines up all over the field. So he's going to be number 1 target for us. He's definitely keeping our defensive staff up at night, trying to figure out on ways to contain him. But I think he's just one of those guys that, quite frankly, Tom, I don't think we're going to have. I think a lot of teams are going to say, "What are we going to do on Sunday?" And it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Quick comment from Kevin here saying, "Let's go Big Blue. I'm excited for the new season." Yeah, man. I mean, it's going to be interesting if the Giants can somehow go even just 500 in the division, because right now, Dallas isn't looking too great. I mean, the Giants have a shot to finish in third if their defense plays like the way it's been advertised, and the offense, even if it's just like a top 20 offense, if the Giants can get to 20 in the offensive numbers, they could possibly win 6 to 7, 8 games. I am optimistic. The problem is for the Giants, their schedule is daunting. There is no way, in my opinion, they win any more than 7-8 games max this season based off the schedule. And if everything goes right, I think a more realistic number is 5 to 6. But I mean, I'll get to my record prediction later before we sign off. But all in all, I think that was an excellent analysis, Marty.
Mhm.
Do you believe in the NFC East division winner curse? It's been a thing for what, over 20 years now?
Yeah, over 20 years, we've never had a repeated division winner. I believe since the Eagles did it 02-03 when they went to back-to-back championship games. I'd like to see it continue, right? I mean, as a Giants fan, for you, as a Commanders fan, for me, the Eagles winning the division last year, I'd love to see it. That means one of us have a shot to do it, and I think it will. I think NFC East football does that. We're tough. We're gritty. We're the East Coast. We're the I-95 corridor. We don't really like to mess around too much. Of course, we got the team down south in Texas, and what Jerry Jones is handling that business for us. But us three up here playing that rugged style NFC East football, I'm excited to see what can happen. And I do believe being biased. I hope it's me. I hope it's us. But I think there's an opportunity for that to happen again this year.
Yeah, and I'm not just saying this because you're here with me on the stream right now, Marty, but I do think it really could be you guys this year based off the way the curse is going. I do think Washington might be ready to take that next step up in terms of potentially winning the division. We've talked about some players already, but Marty, give me a couple players to watch for the Giants and then a couple, 2 or 3 players to watch for Washington. Who do you think maybe not based off of like a seasonal perspective, but this matchup this week, who are the, 2 guys from each squad or a third if you have that really could have a big impact on this game?
Yeah. Let's jump on the Giants side first, right? We're on Big Blue Ave, so we got to start with them.
Absolutely.
Folks that we're looking at on our side, first up, a little different, Graham Cano, kicker, won the competition up there. Past 2 years have been hurt. If we remember week 2 against the Giants, if he doesn't pull a hamstring on that kickoff, completely different outcome to that game as the Giants had no kicking game or presence, which allowed us to play a completely different style of aggressive defense. He's got to continue his projection of what he was 2 years ago, which is a solid NFL kicker. But with the injury history and things that we know NFC East football comes down to this, do we trust Graham Cano to hit a 50-yarder when the clock expires? We haven't seen it in 2 years per se. I know he has it record-wise, but he's missed some time. So something to keep an eye on there. And, of course, you mentioned him earlier, Brian Burns. He's a guy that comes from Carolina, super talented, got paid 8.5 sacks last year. With the addition of Abdul Carter, with Thibodeau hopefully taking that next step, Burns is a guy, and like I said, I'm stealing your lines from before, he's going to be able to get on there one-on-one, have good matchups, and I think he can really capitalize. He's a guy that I can see having a double-digit sack season and leading the Giants' defense in sacks and being productive. So those are 2 guys on the Giants side that, a little different from the offensive perspective, but defensively, I know Brian Burns is a household name and someone that we are definitely going to be keeping our eyes on. For the Commanders, 2, first, Old Faithful Zach Ertz, tight end. 13th season. Last year, 650 yards, 66 catches, was just, again, reliable on third downs. And he's not flashy. He's not getting open. He's not Philadelphia Eagles Zach Ertz. But he's Commander Zach Ertz. He's exactly what Jaden Daniels needs, is that safety blanket on tough downs, tough positions in the game. He knows exactly where Zach Ertz is going to be. Next up on the defensive side for us, a guy who's not a household name yet, but I promise you by the end of the year, he's going to be getting Pro Bowl votes. Free safety Quan Martin, 2023 second-round pick from Illinois. The guy just continues to crease up. Made a little name for himself in the divisional game with the pick 6 against Jared Goff. But that guy is on the trajectory to be a very, very good safety in this league. And you might not see it week 1, but as we continue to be on prime time and we continue to have big-time games and big moments, he's going to be making plays. And I'm putting my stake in that Quan Martin could be getting a Pro Bowl nod by the end of the year.
I love that one. You're always outside the box, which I appreciate. It's not always the household names for you, Marty. It's more, this guy really flies under the radar, and I want you Giants fans to know about him. And that's what I love
Exactly.
about you, Marty. You have
Yes.
that touch for sure.
Yep.
And it usually works out more often than not. They're a factor in these games that we play. For
Mhm.
me, for the Giants in this game, player to watch, I honestly think Theo Johnson, our tight end, is going to be an interesting player, getting matched up against Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. Theo, expect him to be more involved in the offense last year. We know Russ has a rich history throwing to tight ends, especially in Seattle. Only 29 catches last year for Theo and 1 touchdown, but that was in just 12 games. He did get hurt, and it took a little bit for the Giants to get him involved offensively. So that's one of mine to watch for the Giants on offense. Now, on defense, folks, who the heck is starting at cornerback, too? The media, they asked Brian Dable, non-committal. They asked Shane Bowen, the defensive coordinator today, didn't say who it was. He literally said, you'll find out on Sunday who is starting at CB2. So I'm telling you, it's going to be a rotation between Tay Banks and Court Flott, and it is so disappointing because Deontay Banks was a 2023 first-round pick out of Maryland, by the way, and he has not lived up to the hype. His rookie year, great with Wink Martindale's defense. But when they fired Wink, or when Wink resigned, whatever it was, he took a massive step back in Shane Bowen's defense this past season, and you saw it in preseason, folks. He was playing pretty late into preseason games, and that's a problem. So I think whoever he's up against, if it's Debo, if it's Luke McCaffrey, if it's somebody else, um, he might struggle, guys. He might struggle. His head is not 100% in the game, and it is a massive concern for the Giants. So I'm watching him in a bad way, which I hate to say, but that's the reality of the situation. I'm going to throw one more in there for good luck from us. I think Micah McFadden is a really solid linebacker. I expect him to break out this year. He led the team with 107 tackles last year, 8 tackles for loss, 3 sacks. He's a blitzing linebacker. He can blitz in the skies. If you add him into the fray, going through that Washington interior with Tyler Bayadas and Brandon Coleman and Nick Allegretti, it could just help this pass rush even more to potentially get JD5 rattled. So that's what I'm looking at. For Washington, I think the obvious one for me is Josh Connerly because the rookie right tackle is slated to make his first career start going up against an elite pass rusher like Brian Burns and Kayvon Thibodeau. I really want to see what he can do on the offensive side of the ball. And actually, sticking with the offense here, Marty, this is a guy the Giants have never had success guarding, and it's Austin Eckler for me. Pass catching back, crushed the Giants when he was with San Diego back when they were still known as the San Diego Chargers. 4 rushing scores last year, over 350 receiving yards. I think he takes a step forward right now with no Brian Robinson Jr. this season. Krosky, Merritt, Rodriguez. I mean, those guys could all come and get their fair share of the pie. But Eckler against the Giants, that's the guy you want to bet on. He is for sure going to have a good game. And, Marty, originally when I was doing this, I was going to pick Terry McLaurin, but here's why I didn't. Did you know that Terry McLaurin has not hit more than 65 receiving yards in the last 5 Week 1 games?
I did see that. Yeah, I saw a lot
Weird.
of week 1 stats, some funny ones. Austin Eckler, I think it's 8 weeks or 8 years in a row he's had at least 15 receiving yards in week 1. Yeah, Terry McLaurin gets off to a slow start. That's been his MO the last couple of years. But I'm hoping and excited to take advantage of Deontay Banks, a guy who I loved coming out of that 2023 draft. We take Emmanuel Forbes over him, which is heartbreaking. I love to see the hometown guy stay there, but hoping that he turns it around for your guys' sake. I do think he's a very talented guy.
No, absolutely. I do think he can definitely get it right if he puts his mind to it. I'm rooting for him. I really am rooting for him. Yeah, I just can't look past those stat lines for Terry, man. But anyway, let's get to our steal a player. And this should be our last segment together for the evening, Marty, before we pick the game. I'll steal a player from Washington. You'll steal a player for the Giants.
Certainly.
Who are you taking to fill a void on your team?
So, like you mentioned, I love thinking outside of the box, and I love trying to look at different ways and different options that, if this was a possibility, we'd be able to improve our team. Went through and through and through your depth chart, and I could only stare at one name the entire time. And that was Malik Neighbors. Not very creative on my end, but when I have the opportunity to add the number one wide receiver in Jaden Daniels' offense from his college season, his quote unquote best friend off the field, I'm gonna have to do it. And yes, we do have Debo, we do have Terry McLaurin, but you're trying to tell me that I don't want Malik Neighbors on the outside, inside, backfield, locker room with Jaden Daniels. I'm gonna take that every single time. I know it's oh man, he's our best player. I guess you would. Yeah, I'm going to go with that line and say absolutely. Malik Neighbors, number one. You can come over to our side all day long.
Love it. That's a great pick. For you guys, I'm taking a guy you mentioned before who you think is your number one corner, if I remember correctly, Mike Sanderstill.
Yes.
What's he entering? His second year now? I mean, this
Second
guy,
year.
holy smokes, for a corner, he's a tackling machine. 93 of them last year, 2 interceptions with 14 passes defended, led a national championship defense. And to be honest with you, I love Drew Phillips in the slot, but I think Sanderstill is capable of playing the boundary as well. So all in all, I hate to say it, I'm replacing Deontay Banks with Mike Sanderstill. You guys got receivers still like Debo and Terry. Zach Ertz is tough. And you need corners that could tackle an open field as well in the NFL. And there's not many that could do it on a consistent basis. My personal opinion, maybe you disagree, Marty, Mike Sanderstill is one of those corners that could do that.
Yeah, he's awesome. Coming out of that 2023 draft, Nick Saban, everyone knows him, longtime Alabama coach, said that he was his favorite player coming out of that draft. Most had him as the number one slot corner in the draft. Wow. He got thrown in the fire and played the outside, learned quick. And now with the addition of Trey Amos, I think it's going to free him up to play and travel with players. And, yeah, he's exciting to watch. He's a fun character guy. Excited to see his trajectory as well going into year 2.
Incredible work by him. Game predictions time. I think we've broken this down pretty well. I feel like we could even sit here longer if we wanted to break down the analytics of this and, go over certain under-the-radar players. But we do have to wrap this up because we both want to get to watching Thursday Night Football. So who are you picking, Marty, and what's your final score?
So every time I'm on Big Blue Avenue and I pick the Commanders, we either, tie or lose or have a tough game. It's hard not to not pick us. I know the national media is leaning towards us, but I do see some giant selections there. So it's not all of us. And with the sports lines having it around 6.5, I think it's going to be a close game for the most part. I do believe we have a huge advantage at quarterback, which is the best position and the most important position in football. I'm going to take the Commanders 28-17. Home win. I think it's a close game, like a 21-17 type game, and we get a late score at the end that kind of makes the scoreboard look a little goofy, but it's going to be an NFC East battle, and I'm excited to watch it on Sunday.
Absolutely. I also have the Giants scoring 17 points, but I think our defense holds you to a few less. I think Washington wins 23-17. I think it's a 6-point game. I like what you said about the late touchdown there. I could definitely see that happening. I do think the Giants might be able to jump out to like an early 3-0 lead in this game, maybe strike first. But once Washington gets settled in, I think they'll control field position and time of possession. Ideally, Cliff Kingsbury is a creative mind, and I think he'll be able to offset that Giants pass rush enough as far as getting the ball out quick, for Jaden Daniels. Get the ball out to those receivers like an Ertz, like an Eckler, like a Debo. I don't think Terry McLaurin is going to have this insane game. In fact, I would fade Terry just a little bit because his last 2 years against the Giants, week 2, he had 6 catches for 22 yards. Weird stat line. And then the one game I went to up in the Meadowlands, 2 catches for 19 yards, but 2 touchdowns. So it was very, very interesting the way his games against us went last year. And, I hope and pray that Andrew Thomas is ready with that foot injury. Unfortunately, Cosme's not going to make it for you guys. He got placed on the PUP list, still recovering from the ACL. He'll miss at least the first 4 games. But all in all, I am very excited that football is back. And Marty, I want to thank you for taking the time to join the show. I love the Best Dad Ever shirt. I know you have a young one at home, so
Yes.
hope you get to enjoy the night with some family, watch some football, and just enjoy the weekend. All in all, are you going Sunday?
Not going Sunday. I will be attending the Chicago Bears Monday night game, Week 5, in hopes that a Hail Mary repeat is there. But yeah, excited just for football to be back, Commanders to be on the field, and just excited all around for the NFL season for 2025. Looking forward to having a fun season. As always, it's been a blast previewing our games. I love previewing NFC East games and looking forward to seeing what the Giants do throughout the season, and excited to just be a part of it.
Absolutely, Marty, or AKA Mr. Command Cave. Thank you very much for your time. Enjoy Thursday night football. Enjoy Sunday's game. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you after the game, and we'll definitely have a quick chat about it. So take care.
Certainly. Take care. Thank you.
Bye, Marty. That was Marty Joins, Mr. Command Cave, the former host of Intercept Your Lunch podcast. We actually met up over basketball talk, so that was pretty interesting. But before we go, I have one more segment I want to do with you guys. So obviously I did not pick the Giants to win this week. Don't worry. I do think the Giants are going to win a decent number of games this season. But I want to go over my record prediction for this year for Big Blue, and I want to go over some possible future predictions for the Giants this season. First up and foremost, record prediction. So, thinking more about this, and I'm only saying this because the Giants have a tough schedule this year. I think we go 6-11. But I think this is a much better 6-11 from the Giants team we saw in 2023. A lot of the top reporters are saying we finish anywhere between 5-12 and 8-9. I do think it's possible we do go 8-9. 9-8 would be best case scenario this season. What we need to see is an improvement. We need to see competitive football, but you also, guys, yes, I want the Giants to win every game. You have to consider their schedule and who they're playing. It's a gauntlet. We're going to have a rookie quarterback out there at some point. There's going to be injuries. There's going to be some adversity. But all in all, I think they do enough for Brian Dable to keep his job entering year 5, and that's when you have to shoot for a potential playoff berth next season. I don't think it'll happen this year, but I do think the Giants will finish ahead of the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys finish 6-11, 5-12 this season. I'm not high on them at all. Next up, when will we see Jackson Dart start? The more I thought about this, I originally thought week 5, but then I saw who we were playing. I'm like, I want to give Russ a little bit more time. I don't want to, push the button too early. Look, ideally, Jackson Dart sits the whole year, like Mahomes did for Kansas City, right? Like Lamar did for Baltimore, just about up until the very end there in his rookie season. I think we're going to see Jackson Dart in week 7. The Giants don't have their bye until week 14. The first 4 games are brutal. And I think they're going to skip over Jameis Winston because they have him signed for 2 seasons. And look, there's also rumors that Winston might get traded. I don't think he does now since DeVito's out of the picture. But looking at the way things are going, the Giants are playing the Eagles in week 6 on Thursday Night Football. The fact that they have 10 days off until they're at Denver for week 7, that might be the game to start him. Russ did not play well at Mile High when he was a Denver Bronco. I don't think he would play well now, especially being on the opposition. Yes, that's a hostile environment for Jackson Dart. I know a lot of people are saying week 9, but the bottom of the line is John Mara wants to see improvement. the Giants want to see wins. And I think if you put Jackson Dart in that environment week 7, that is a huge learning curve for him. And that is awesome experience to get in a hostile setting out in Denver, a team that plays very well at home. I'm going to go over an offensive breakout player now and a defensive breakout player. I know we have about 5 to 10 minutes or so before the game starts, so I'll rip through this quickly. I think Theo Johnson is our offensive breakout player. And I think Micah McFadden is our defensive breakout player. All in all, I think Theo's great. I think he's going to have a good year. Russ throwing the football to him. I think he stays healthy. Micah McFadden, contract year. I think he's going to ball out. 4th year now. Really good tackler. Good blitzer as well. I think he's going to have a great season. Big prediction here for Abdul Carter. I think he finishes with at least 10 sacks on the season. I think the Giants are going to be top 5 in the NFL in sacks this season. I think Abdul Carter is going to play a big role in that. I think the fact that you can line him up anywhere gives him a massive advantage over a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau and what he did in his rookie season, where he lined up typically in one spot. Abdul Carter can line up in 3 or 4 different spots and wreak havoc. 2 more. Marcus Bowe becomes a starting offensive lineman by the end of the season. I think Greg Van Roten gets replaced by Marcus Bowe. I think GVR, I don't want to wish injuries on anybody, but ultimately I think Bowe just outplays him, and they want to try something, right? You know, below 500 towards the end of the season, you're not making the playoffs. Why not? Throw him in there. But I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong about these last 2. The last one, I think Scadaboo finishes with more rushing yards than Tyrone Tracy. Again, Tracy is really a wide receiver, converted running back. I like Tyrone Tracy a lot, but I like Cam Scadaboo a tad more long term. I think he's a bull. I think he's really difficult to bring down, and I think that's what's going to happen. I want to throw some hot, spicy takes in there as well. Either way, you can't go wrong. The Tracy Scadaboo combo is going to be awesome to watch all season long, and I'm very excited for both of those guys. Folks, that's been it for our show. I want to welcome you all back to Big Blue Avenue. It's been a blast previewing week 1 with the Giants and the Commanders, and I hope you all continue to watch throughout the course of the season. It's been great tonight. Make sure to check us out on all of our social media. Drop a comment below. We'll have the preview portion of this video up on YouTube. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications at Big Blue Avenue on YouTube. We're also on Twitter or X and Instagram as well, where we post some stuff. And one thing we didn't talk about, the minority ownership stake for Julia Koch and her family. Big time news. You know, the Maras and Tishes still hold the majority of the team, and they'll be making all the decisions. But this is something a lot more teams are doing now, right? They're selling these minority stakes, and all in all, it could be good for the Giants. We'll see what happens there, but I mean, this is John Mara's team as long as he's living, and you know, when I think of the Giants, I think the Mara family before anything else. And you know, yeah, John hasn't been as good as Wellington, but all in all, I think that the Giants are finally headed back in the right direction. And, you know, John Mara's trust in Joe Shane and Brian Dable tells you a lot. There are a lot of fans last year who were really angry. They wrote him letters, and he wrote back personal messages. There's one, you can't say that John Mara doesn't care about the results of this football team. He does. And all in all, I think the Giants are going to show a lot of improvement in a lot of different areas this season. Wishful thinking tells me the Giants finish slightly below 500. But all in all, I'm going to play it conservative because I have not the last 2 seasons and say the Giants win 6 games in 2025. All right, folks, let me know what you think of this video. Like it, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. Appreciate you all. And for the very first time this season, without further ado, let's go Big Blue.